we haven't yet on the show covered this former DHS chief of staff who's been going around and talking about some of the experiences that he had with Donald Trump while he was still serving in government. There is one that I want to focus on though, and this is when this individual, Miles Taylor, was speaking recently with Hallie Jackson.
There was a time when, of course, we were spending a lot of our days down in Puerto Rico after the hurricanes wreaked devastation down there, U.S. Virgin Islands, and other places. There was a trip that we made down there in August of 2018, and I remember before we went, the president said something, and your viewers are going to be somewhat familiar with this. The president's talked before about wanting to purchase Greenland, but one time before we went down, he told us not only did he want to purchase Greenland, he actually said he wanted to see if we could sell Puerto Rico. Could we swap Puerto Rico for Greenland? Because in his words, Puerto Rico was dirty and the people were poor. And these are the thoughts he has when Americans are in danger and recovering. I did not take it as a joke, and on multiple occasions, the president expressed interest in buying Greenland, and I'll go even further about Puerto Rico. The president expressed deep animus towards the Puerto Rican people behind the scenes.
Yeah, and so that certainly is something that we were familiar with beforehand, and we'd heard some of this stuff. Obviously, he hated Puerto Rico. That was very clear. He didn't care how many people died, and in fact, about 3,000 people died during that catastrophe. And we know that he wanted to get Greenland as a part of the United States because he doesn't know anything about it, and he thinks that that's a thing that we still do in the world. But the idea that he wanted to directly trade one for the other, that was new information to me, Rashad.
Yeah, the specific information was new, but the sentiment was not. So while we're saying he did this thing behind the scenes and he felt like this behind the scenes, he felt like this in front of the scenes. If you remember when he went to Puerto Rico, and by the way, he went to Puerto Rico because everybody was telling him, you got to go to Puerto Rico. You have to go to Puerto Rico. So he goes to Puerto Rico. These people are injured, they're dying, they're devastated. And he figures, this is a great time to start throwing paper towels and making light of the situation. Yeah. Completely non-presidential. But it lets you know where his heart is at. I promise you this, if he went to a white conservative town that had been devastated by some storm, the last thing this president would do is start throwing towels at them, throwing paper towels at them, and making light of the situation, because that's his crew, right? He has never been interested in governing the United States of America. He's never been interested in governing for all citizens. He's only been interested in governing the base of people that stick with him.
Yeah, I think you're right, certainly. And that's why this, I think, is important to focus on. I know some people will say, okay, so he said this crazy thing, why are you focusing on this? It was a few years ago. Okay, that may be true, but do you believe that he has changed since then? If Puerto Rico gets devastated by another hurricane, and we're in hurricane season right now, what is he gonna care more than he did back in 2017? Is he gonna give more resources? Is he gonna prioritize it more? Who actually thinks that? This same fundamentally racist individual is going to approach the issues having to do with natural disasters from a racist point of view. And so that's an issue that we need to get people focused on so that hopefully it won't be as devastating the next time. And the only thing I disagree with you a little bit is that while obviously he will provide the resources more to people who look like himself. I mean, we already had that with Texas being hit by a hurricane. They got some resources, Puerto Rico did not. In terms of his actual ability to show empathy, I mean, Stephen Colbert actually made a book out of his commentary on location after, I think it was on the East Coast, it was some hurricane. And he just goes around saying, whose boat is that boat? Is that your boat? Like, he doesn't know how to provide empathy to people who've lost everything.
Yeah, he can't connect, man. I mean, this guy, I don't know if he has a soul or not, but if he does, it's untraceable. One of the things about Biden's first major interview, while I have my issues with Biden on some policy matters, I was reminded during Biden's first interview that this is what having a soul looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is what we have desperately been lacking in the presidency.
Yeah, we definitely have. And obviously, look, it's not like some dichotomy where it's like, if Joe Biden doesn't tweet, then we're good. No, obviously we need the focus on policy and actually addressing issues too. But you can care about those things. You can care about, this ridiculous approach to the world, especially when it so often seems to directly contribute to so much human suffering, as it did in the instance having to do with Maria.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.